Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee meeting for Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Council will continue to meet in a hybrid format until further notice. We encourage speakers to continue registering and speaking virtually as there will be limited number of seats available in council chambers. Our first order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers of the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action or deliberation which are or may be before city council, and profanity would not be permitted. Our first registered speaker is Mary Widener.
Hello. So my name is Mary and I live in Garfield, and I'm calling in to support the proposed plastic bag ban. I've picked up a lot of trash in the city, from the garbage Olympics, go Team Garfield, to other cleanups, to me going out on my own. And as a result, I've seen a lot of litter. And in my experience, plastic bags seem to be one of the worst types. They tatter and break apart in ways over time that make them impossible to fully remove during litter pickups. A bottle you can usually just pick up, but an old plastic bag shatters and leaves fragments behind as it's touched. And a study from this year has shown microplastics have been found in all 53 Pennsylvania waterways that were tested. All of that pollution for bags that are used for an average of 12 minutes and then just discarded. 12 minutes for an effectively unrecyclable product that clogs our storm drains, releases microplastics into every waterway we have, is nearly impossible to remove during costly pickups, and jams up equipment at recycling centers. I could go on, but there are alternatives that are effective, cost-effective, environmentally friendly, last for countless 12-minute trips, and can safely decompose. Over 100 small businesses and organizations in the city have already signed in support, and many other municipalities across the state and country have already passed similar legislation. Let's stop the flood of plastics entering our neighborhoods. Let's ban plastic bags. Thank you to City Council member Erica Strasburger for introducing this, and I hope that Pittsburgh City Council passes this legislation quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller.
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Bell Suver and Bismarck, North Dakota. The Global Intelligence Society, U.S. National Candidate, 2024, globalintelligencesociety.org. I'm a member of the American Physical Society. Among my divisions are nuclear and quantum information. And I also am a member of the American Mathematical Society. One council concern is to, in our view, control, censor citizen speech in council meeting public comment. Council meeting presiders say we do not permit profanity, as Mr. Lavelle did just a few moments ago. Councilor Lavelle and President Cale Smith, are you familiar with the U.S. Supreme Court decision 1971, Cohen versus California? Apparently not, in which the court ruled that banning profanity is unconstitutional. So your claimed ban of profanity is unconstitutional. It is lawless. It's censorship. It violates the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, civil citizen right violation. So citizens, when you do public comment in person and via Zoom, use whatever words you choose. Another concern of council is to recognize contributions of citizens to our country and to our city. Here are a few. Dr. Sylvester James Gates, the Black African-American physicist. He is the current president of the American Physical Society. He's now at Brown University. His interests are supergravity, supersymmetry, superstring theory, and temporal causality. He is really brilliant. And Dr. Juan Mosadena, Latin, Argentinian, American physicist who is currently at Princeton University's Institute for Advanced Study, Quantum Gravity, Quantum Field Theory, Fusion. He corrected Stephen Hawking on the mass energy information disappearance into black holes. He proved that Hawking was wrong about that. And Dr. Terence Chi Shen Tao, this is an Asian, Australian, Chinese American mathematician. He is at UCLA, and many of us view him as currently the best mathematician in the world. Combinatorics and harmonic analytic regularity are his specializations.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Glocheski.
Hello. My name is Elizabeth Glocheski, and I live in Highland Park. I'm here today to voice my support for the ban of single-use plastic bags. My awareness of a throwaway lifestyle began when I was around 10 years old. In the late 80s, studies showed that styrofoam contributed to ozone deterioration and air pollution. Like plastic bags, styrofoam takes years to break down and cannot be broken down by microorganisms. Fast food restaurants like McDonald's were criticized for the use of styrofoam. At the time, I ate a lot of McDonald's, and I felt conflicted and hopeless to make a difference. To my surprise, consumers started to speak out, organize, and implement styrofoam bans and restrictions in their towns and states. McDonald's could not ignore the public pressure and negative environmental and health concerns about styrofoam. In 1990, it started to phase out most of their styrofoam containers. Over the past 30 years, I have made personal choices to reduce my plastic use and carbon footprint, but it takes a community to make a movement. Reducing our consumption of plastics is the real solution. Single-use plastics have invaded our oceans and overtaken our landfills. They have poisoned our air and waterways. They have clogged our recycling centers and wildlife's basic functions. It's time to call to action our community to ban single-use plastics. I am now hopeful that Pittsburgh can lead the way for other businesses and communities to ban single-use plastics and create a more innovative future for packaging. Thank you for considering a single-use plastic ban and taking the time to listen to our concerns. I encourage you to support this bill and bring up the ordinance for a vote as soon as possible.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Naomi Mullen.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. The Pennsylvania Constitution states, under political powers, that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. Where did public servants get the idea that they should lord over us? How can they make decisions for our community that we have lived in and been property owners in for decades? The PPS board and administration created a controversy against us. After repeated speeches to the board and city council, they have not dropped the sale of Bon Air School. It is a crime to use a falsehood to vote, create a resolution, sign a sales agreement, transfer property, or create a legal contract under a misrepresentation. Officials have a duty to investigate and act against a crime when notified. You have been notified as well, City Council. There have now been 3 community meetings with Gregory Coyle. It is 8 months of no community support from Bon Air. We even gave him a petition with 250 signatures on it. We want the building torn down and a green space to take its place. Gregory is operating in bad faith, and the school district officials are harming we, the people of Bon Air. The Pittsburgh Public Schools Administration Board and Gregory Coyle are causing negligent infliction of emotional distress and blockbusting. By their opposition to our community, these are real damages that we, the people of Bon Air, demand remedy for. Negligent infliction of emotional distress is a personal injury that arises when a defendant acts so carelessly that he or she must compensate the injured person. Has City Council taken any steps toward a resolution to protect the Bon Air property owners from enemies that continue to harm us? My sincere, consistent request is that City Council create a resolution to block zoning change and support a green space to replace Bon Air's school building. Do your part for the environment, reduce urban heat, reduce the watershed to Route 51, increase green space to benefit all ages and stages, protect the children at the playground across the street. Let's make it wheelchair accessible to allow those who have difficult access to nature the ability to enjoy it. Tear down detrimental problem buildings, not safe, stable neighborhoods. You want to reduce watershed to Route 51, and this is your opportunity to help that need. Investigate fraudulent acts by PPS administration, board, and contractors. Oversight is needed to avoid bad actions like poor roundabout placements. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Johanna Halmalkina. 1 week. I can see that. Yeah.
Greetings and good day. My title is Ikahana Halmakina. I am the Grand Inca of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aborigine American people, also known as Indians. We are the indigenous people of the Americas, and we are asking directly City Council members to pave a way to ensure that since time immemorial, that our children have a bright future being themselves, to express their culture, to express our tradition, and to express our heritage through various acts and deeds, through various political decisions made, ill-conceived policies, through acts of Congress, our people and our identities have been suppressed and hidden. This is a unique opportunity for the members of City Council, for the incumbent mayor, to make decisions that will allow us to thrive as the unique people, as the heirs of the Americas. Just yesterday, I applauded and highlighted the actions of Councilwoman Erica Strasburger as she has been creating legislation to respect the earth, to honor the earth, to take care of the earth, to allow people to be good stewards of the earth. And I will continue to applaud her efforts for doing so and support her in her efforts and deeds to protect the earth. And hopefully her constituents will support her. I also wanted to highlight the legislation that Erica Strasburger has done to protect people from domestic violence. As a survivor of domestic violence, it is a subject very near and dear to my heart. I was inadvertently, due to a domestic call, shot by the Pittsburgh police through my hand. I've yet to receive any compensation for wrongly being shot. I am now suffering debilitating pain and limitations in my hand where I cannot even close my fist. So I have very limited functionality in my right hand as a result of being shot. Not everybody can say that they have been shot, let alone shot by a policeman's revolver. And so I employ members of City Council to reach out to people like myself, to include myself. We are at a time and place and space where accountability is a call to action.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Edward Wren.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Ed Wren, MD. I speak in support of this bill and thank everyone for listening to us, including my council member, Erica Strasburger. I am on the steering committee of PASSUP, which is Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic. We had supported this kind of bill when it was not allowed under state law previously. I also represent a new chapter of Wild Ones Native Plants Natural Landscaping, and we would like to see less single-use plastic and other plastic waste in gardening and landscaping. The cover of the June 2018 issue of National Geographic magazine has a graphic of the tip of a plastic bag iceberg rising from the ocean. I am afraid that what we know of the adverse effects of plastic manufacture, use, and disposal also represents a tip of the iceberg, because the science involving multiple types of plastic is complex and effects occur over the lifetime. So the precautionary principle should apply here. However, on the bright side, I also see this bill as the tip of an iceberg of opportunity in our region to not only to do good, but to do well, as the saying goes, to be leaders in the new green economy. I would like to point out a few of the business leaders in this movement in our city. One is the refillery on Murray Avenue, which provides reusable packaging. Another is Soul Refill, which is to open in the spring to do delivery services, similar refillable products. The third one is Ecotone Renewables, which takes what's considered to be garden quote waste unquote and food waste and turns it into useful anaerobic fertilizer. We have Diane's Dishes, which provides reusable dishware for events, and also Our Children, Our Earth, which has toys made from non-plastic, more sustainable materials. We have Reimagine Recycling, which takes number 5 used plastics and turns them into useful products. On a larger scale, Giant Eagle is ranked number 1 by Greenpeace in more sustainable packaging, with goals for dramatic reductions in plastic packaging by 2025. And I apologize to the many others that I'm sure I have left out. And I'm going to close with a song by the late Pete Seeger with my own corrections, which summarizes the imperatives and opportunities before us. It's called If It Can't Be Reduced. And it goes like this: if it can't be reduced, reused, repaired, rebuilt, refurbished, refinished, resold, recycled, or composted, then it should be restricted, redesigned, or removed from production. Hooray for the city of Pittsburgh. Hooray for the city of Pittsburgh, that beautiful city of Pittsburgh and its green economy leadership.
Thank you very much. That exhausts our list of registered speakers. Are there any other speakers with us in chambers and or line? Any other speakers wishing to speak in chambers or online? Seeing none, would a clerk please take the roll?
Reverend Burgess. Mr. Coghill.
Here.
Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Kraus.
Here.
Mr. O'Connor. Mrs. Kell Smith.
Here.
Ms. Strasburger.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Lavelle, Chair.
Here.
9 members present.
All right, our first committee of the day is Finance and Law, which is chaired by myself. Would the clerk please read bills 2213, 2214, 2215, 2216, 2217, and 2218 all together? They all require an executive session.
The session was held.
Oh, I apologize.
Bill 2213, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in favor of Crystal L. Abbott and her attorney in the amount of $34,996 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. Bill number 2214, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in favor of Michael Lucas in the amount of $2,500 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. Bill 2215, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in favor of Kelly Masucci and her attorneys in the amount of $59,477 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. Bill number 2216, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city solicitor to, on behalf of the city, to enter into a professional services agreement with Cohen Law Group to address a matter of pending telecommunications litigation at an amount not to exceed $61,050. Bill number 2217, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Allen Daniels and Simone PC in the amount of $65,000 relating to the full and final settlement of a case filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill number 2218, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Summer, Abbott, and Phil De La Cente and Associates in the amount of $15,000 in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County.
Motion to
Approve.
second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All bills are recommended. Our one new paper is Bill 2248.
Bill 2248, resolution authorizing the Director of the Department of Finance to enter into a license agreement with Giant Eagle, Inc. to allow the performance of pre-development due diligence investigation and site inspections on designated city property in order to facilitate the construction of a Get-Go Cafe and Market in the Homewood Larimer community.
Second.
Any discussion?
Turn your mic on.
I'll say a little bit about it. This has been a 2-year intense project and a decade negotiation with Giant Eagle about trying to get them to invest one of their properties in Homewood. We've talked for 10 years about them investing and multiple meetings, and they are investing initially it's twice. Once they're already now doing a food drop-off in Homewood where residents can order food and it's dropped off at a location and picked up at that location in the community. So we're already doing that in Homewood and Larimer, which has worked really well for those people with mobility issues or transportation issues, and they're community-based. This goes to the next level of investment on the corner of Fifth Avenue and Frankstown. They will build a state-of-the-art Get-Go that will be gas market. They will sell some groceries. It will be not just a normal convenience store. They're going to sell groceries there. The idea also is that may probably be the other place where you'll be able to pick up ordered food. And it will be a cafe and restaurant. So it'll be a place where people can sit down, eat sandwiches, and get lunch. Hasn't been anything like this in this community since I was a little boy. No real restaurants like this since I was a child in Homewood. So we're grateful for their investment, and we look forward to it.
Council President Smith.
I want to say congratulations too, but I also want to acknowledge Giant Eagle because they're also doing this similar project over in Sheridan, and they actually just ordered a new mobile unit, and it's amazing. It looks like a store that's parked outside of the Jasmine Nairi campus. So the Jasmine Nairi campus has been a really great partner too. But it talks a little bit about the food fund that Councilwoman Gross and I have been talking a lot about. So I think maybe we should all have a conversation with Giant Eagle about how we can work together and maybe fund our food fund that grants that we'd like to do. There's a lot of people trying to bring food into our neighborhoods, and it has been challenging. My district is 90% of my district drives and owns vehicles. So they can get to the nearest place, but there is still a percentage of people that cannot go, or their vehicle may not be operational. There's still some issues, and it would be great to see us fill in those gaps wherever possible. And I think this might be another partnership worth really expanding across the city. But I want to thank Giant Eagle for their continued, they helped us get through the pandemic with, and donate so much to the food bank. I know that we could not have done distributions in our area had it not been for Giant Eagle. So I want to thank them too and acknowledge them.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gross.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to follow up and congratulations on us on the investment that is much needed. And I do want to acknowledge that part of the talks that we heard about, starting with the ARPA fund about food justice and allocating funds towards food justice. I think part of our work is also just doing retrospective kind of pulling together of what investments have we already made that maybe we aren't bundling together to look at where we've made food justice investments and the work individual council members are maybe doing in their district that we haven't kind of put together. And so I'm glad to hear about this project. I heard only a little bit about it, I think, from the URA and their involvement. And I suggested to the URA a week or two ago when I brought up this, that we were working on the President Smith's Food Task Force. That I wondered what investments they have made that may also be part of the food system. Sometimes it's retail and publicly facing, sometimes it's wholesale and the public might not see it, or it's some other part of the food system like a warehouse or a distribution site. And so I think we're working on language for resolution to just ask the URA, giving them plenty of time. It's not a rush really, but to go back retrospectively and look at the last few years so we can see what kinds of investments have been made there. We can see here what kinds of work we've done on food systems and then put that together and see what that picture looks like. And also we're working on doing some set aside for additional funds because I suspect once we put all of our information and all see it together, we may see some obvious gaps that need some further investment. So I just wanted to add that in, and I'm glad to see this project. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. Need a motion to approve the invoices. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Invoices are approved. Need a motion to approve the interdepartmental transfers.
Moved. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Transfers are approved. Need a motion to approve the P cards.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? P cards are approved. That takes us to Public Safety Services Committee, chaired by Councilman O'Connor. One deferred paper, Bill 2174.
Bill 2174, ordinance amending and supplementing the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title 5, Traffic, Article 1, Administration, Chapter 503, Enforcement and Control, by adding a new section, Section 50317, Equitable and Fair Enforcement of Motor Vehicle Laws.
Motion to hold 1 week.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill be held 1 week. New papers, Bill 2249.
Bill 2249, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a professional services agreement with Animal Friends and Humane Animal Rescue for services related to the city's spay and neuter program at a cost not to exceed $140,000 over 2 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2250.
Bill 2250, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of public safety to enter on behalf of the city into a commodities agreement with Premier Safety for the purchase of protective clothing for firefighters on an as-needed basis.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. That moves us to Public Works Committee, chaired by Councilman Coghill. First supplemental papers, Bill 2264.
Bill 2264, resolution authorizing the mayor and directors of the Department of Finance, Parks and Recreation and Public Works to enter into an agreement with the Friends of Neil Log House, pursuant to which the log house will make renovations, capital improvements to the log house, and will thereafter further assist with operation and maintenance of the Neil Log House and with the provision of related programs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill Bill 2265.
Bill 2265, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to enter into a supplemental agreement with CDR McGuire, Inc. for project design, management services, and reviews in connection with various city construction projects to add funding for the construction phase of the South Side Signal Project, final design phase of the Liberty Avenue, Penn Avenue, and Smithfield Street projects, and preliminary engineering phase of the Swindale Bridge and the Larimer Avenue Bridge, and to increase the total amount not to exceed $1,951,150.76 from agreement 531211, an increase of $726,514.77.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. Our deferred papers, Bill 1744.
Bill 1744, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a lease agreement with the Phipps Conservatory and Botanical Garden for the city facility known as the Garden Center for a period of 10 years, an annual rental fee of $1 per year with the possibility of renewal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, comment, Mr. Chair, if we could hold for one more week, I'd really appreciate it.
Motion to hold for 1 week.
Thank you.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill be held 1 week. Our new papers, Bill 2241.
Bill 2241, resolution providing for a reimbursement agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the CBD Signals Phase 4 project's construction phase, providing for the payment not to exceed $6,200,000. This resolution serves to authorize only the reimbursement agreement at a cost of $36,000. Further resolutions will authorize the project-specific service agreements.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2242.
Bill 2242, resolution providing for a supplemental agreement with the Larson Design Group, Inc. for costs associated with the CBD Signals Phase 3 project, providing for the payment of costs not to exceed $713,409.74, an increase of $47,792.46.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2243.
Bill 2243, resolution amending Resolution 519 entitled Resolution Providing for an Amended Reimbursement Agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the Wenzel Avenue Carnahan Road intersection project, providing for the payment of costs not to exceed $3,025,000, an increase of $251,000 to increase the project's construction budget. The original agreement was authorized by Resolution 850 of 2017 to clarify municipal incurred and total project costs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Bill is recommended. That takes us to Human Resources Committee chaired by Councilman Kraus. First new papers, one new paper, Bill 2247.
Bill 2247, resolution providing for a professional service agreement with Big Pictures Lab LLC for video production services in an amount not to exceed $10,000. $8,000 will come from the HUD Trust Fund and $2,000 will come from the Commission's Community Development Block Grant Funding.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Bill is recommended. That takes us to Land Use and Economic Development Committee chaired by Councilman Wilson. One supplemental paper, Bill 2286.
Bill 2286, resolution further amending resolution number 840 entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2020 Capital Budget, the 2020 CDBG Program, and the 2020 through 2025 Capital Improvement Program by reducing Comprehensive Revenue Management System by $90,550 and increasing remediation of condemned buildings by $90,550.
Motion to approve.
Second. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. One deferred paper, Bill 1867.
Bill 1867, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title 5, Traffic Article 7, Parking, Chapter 549, Residential Parking Permit Program, so as to clarify the administrative process for the program, provide for virtual permitting, add to the permit fees to the city's annual fee book, adopt regulations for the use of visitors permits and non-residents permits, and create the hybrid RPP area program.
Motion to approve, discussion.
Second.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So if members remember, last week, we took in a pretty big amendment and multiple amendments to this bill. And then throughout the past week, we worked on what we were concerned about at the table, which was a discussion over landlord permits and the specifics of that permit. And what we've come up with, I think, is a good solution. I think that so I just want to talk about this amendment, and then I'll offer up the motion in a second here. So basically, there will be, just so everyone's aware, did send it out to members, and well, everyone's in person today, so that's good. We all have it in front of us. That we're gonna include a proof that the unit or property is registered with the city's rental registry program. And then furthermore, we're gonna have a tier graduated. I can't think straight right now, but basically we put in a system where if you own 1 to 5 rental units, you can prove that, then you have the ability to obtain 1 permit. If there's 6 or 10, if you have 6 or 10 units, then there's then you can have 2 vehicles. And if you have greater than 10, then you can have the max of 4. And that comes at a cost of $250 per motor vehicle or $25 per month. I think it's a good starting place. I think it's a good solution to a complicated issue. I think that what we've learned is that there's no system in place now, or at least it's a made up system where you can call in and get a variance at the parking authority. And we found that there's approximately 600 of these that are being given on a very on a system that doesn't have structure like this. So I think there's a good solution, and I'll open up to, well, first I just want to make comments and just say this work on this couldn't be done without Director Dash and all the work that he's put in to this. So I really appreciate his time on this. Also to my staff and everyone else's staff that we've worked on this, and all the other members that have joined me in trying to accomplish this feat. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to amend the bill.
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarification, we didn't amend anything last week, right? This entirety is being offered up as the amendment, not just the. I can't remember.
We amended last week.
But what we see in front of you looks a bit different, because typically we did the amend by substitution, and it seems as though we just amended and kept all the. We show all the
we're
history.
amending today is the
Just those 2 items.
on the landlord permit. Yeah, I just wanted to be clear. That's
Mhm.
all. So first, I want to say congratulations. This was no small undertaking, and by any means, and I applaud you, Councilman, for the tenacity to stay with us. This is your first major piece of legislation. You're a major. I mean, this isn't any mention
did
parking
take
to
off.
anybody in the city of Pittsburgh, and you're going to get someone's opinion on parking. This was not an easy undertaking. So truly, genuinely, I applaud you for your tenacious nature and sticking with this and seeing this through, because this was not an easy feat.
Thank
to
you.
do. Second, I really want to recognize Councilwoman Strasburger. It really was a stroke of genius last week when we kind of did a little sidebar and she offered up like, well, what if it was just tied to the rental registry? It's like light bulb, like that's brilliant. It really is brilliant. And it is a way to, confirm that the landlord that we're offering this benefit to is playing nice, right? And being part of the rental registry, and showing their commitment to actually maintaining safe and habitable properties that are contributing in nature and safe for people to live in. Sure, if you're on board with that, I'm willing to help you out with the ability to bring your vehicle into the neighborhood and be able to park and do the work that's required. So I think and I don't want to be petty by any means, the fee, but we can get to that. Might, maybe it could have been a little bit higher, but I love the tiered structure. I love the consolidation of vehicles according to so many per unit that you can get. I do like the fee being structured that you can do a one-time to $150 a year, which gives you, I guess, basically about $200 off. I do like that. I think that's less cumbersome to someone who's doing work in the neighborhood. Just, yeah, I got 5 vehicles, I qualify, I'm part of the rental registry, I write 1 check a year and you're permitted and you can go about and do your work. So I am very happy to vote in favor today. And I hope all members will as well too. I think there's really good energy around the bill and I expect that it will pass unanimously. But again, without beating a dead horse, which I do really well, I do want to congratulate you. That really was quite a feat to bring this over the finish line. And yeah, I'm happy to vote for it. Thanks.
Well, thank you. If I could just respond to that real quick, I just want to say I am proud of this, but there's some other things that I did recently. But this one is, there are some things that we do here that are for a larger conversation or for things that, we want others to join in. For instance, the loss of pregnancy bereavement bill that I did, it's to provide, that support for our workers, but also to grow that. And we see that growing across the nation and in other states. But this bill, interesting enough, is the nuts and bolts of how the city runs and how we, most neighborhoods, enjoy their neighborhood. This is what they want. They want, to be able to, make sure they have, an adequate amount of parking and, all the history with this bill. It's a 40-year-old bill and it's something that when you touch it, you gotta be careful. So we kind of waded in that area and I'm proud of what we did with this bill.
When RPP came up for the first time for discussion in the Southside Flats, and that had to be 20 years ago. I mean, there were hundreds of people in that room, hundreds of people, and they wanted to know that for that $20 fee they were paying, they wanted that spot in front of their house 24/7, 365, and nobody was ever allowed to park in it, period. And that was the baseline to discuss RPP. And I'm a little overly sensitive to this. I get it, but representing Southside Flats and all of South and Central Oakland, let me tell you, parking is the, number one, if not always, damn near always, the number one call we get or complain about, and you mess with someone's parking and, people are going to tell you. I remember when I was first running, and it was like 2004, and I was in Allentown, and this gentleman was walking down the street with a T-shirt that said, "Welcome to Southside, no parking since 1948." So
Is this where the parking chair came from?
This is the,
One of the,
the most emblematic symbol of the Southside Flats is the parking chair. Absolutely. So. But it's good stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Smith, followed by Councilman Gross.
Again, same as Councilman Cross, I want to congratulate Councilman Wilson. I like, it's not just this legislation, it's the legislation you work on in general. You just have a really good way of working with others and holding and waiting until things are tweaked just right. And I just want to thank you for not only the legislation, but your approach to all legislation that you introduce. You somehow get us to vote for things that we never heard of and whatever, but somehow it always ends up being in the best interest of the residents. So I want to thank you very much for your work. And I didn't know about that sidebar with Councilwoman Strasburger, but she's same, just always brilliant. Yeah, always. So thank you both and all for your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gross.
Yes, I can't wait to see how these changes work in those RPP areas. I'm really curious to see how the hybrid area works. Again, as I spoke to in the public hearing, I have those kinds of areas that are RPP and close to metered parking. And there can be kind of a fluidity back and forth, which I think is really important. Thank you again for the amendment around the medical non-resident permits. As we live through these changes and get things on the books so that we know how those permits have been issued consistently instead of inconsistently like we have now with variances, I think it'll be easy to go back and look and see how it's operating. We've left in there that they need to be renewed on a month-to-month basis. Again, I have the one case in my district where it's a long-term care situation of a medically fragile child who needs 24-hour care, and his condition is not going to change in a month. But so we'll see how it works operationally. This might be more for people who've twisted their ankle or something like that, and maybe they're different, their situation is different in a month. But I think it's great that we move forward. And similarly, I really appreciate the amendments to the landlord rental properties so that we've graduated those permits by the amount of apartments one has or a landlord might have in an RPP area, so that we can accommodate both the landlords that have 500 units in an RPP area, but an area that might have 500 different landlords in one RPP area, so that it's a very different situation. And so we'll get to see how that works. What's different now than in what we've been living with for the 40-year-old legislation is that you've got something entirely new, like the short-term rentals in there as well and codified, so that again, we can see how this works because we'll be hopefully applying it consistently. Then we can evaluate the complaints, and it's a lot easier to amend if we see some glaring problems that are consistently a problem. So yeah, I'm very supportive today. I really appreciate the holds and the amendments. And I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further, Councilwoman Strasburger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thanks again to Councilman Wilson for your incredible work on this behemoth of a bill. It is, I'm very satisfied with it. I think it encompasses a lot of the concerns that we as council members had from the many, many emails and calls and conversations we've had with our own constituents and what we heard in public hearing and throughout this whole process. It really does address those. So I want to thank you for your time and your work and your effort and that of your team, and for working with the council members who had concerns and waiting until, allowing us to approach it on our own time rather than trying to force this through any earlier than it needed to be. And to Director Dash as well for his great work. And I just have to say that, the only reason I thought of the rental registration tie here is because of Councilwoman Gross's remarks last week about all the many LLCs that are under different names and different LLCs, which, in my mind means potentially out of state, out of country property owners. And so it just goes to show that our minds are all better when we work together and collaborate. So thank you, Councilman, for allowing us to do that as well. And I think that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Second round, Councilman Wilson?
I just wanted to mention, I definitely hear you on the medical permit, and I'm hoping what I'm looking for, and we can monitor this, is that the part where it says, or otherwise the term by the parking permit officer, is that if the letter includes for a medical, for everyone that would hear this, that this is if the need is there in the letter, then rightly so, the permit officer should grant it. So I think they should work on that internal policy like that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
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 Opposed? Any discussion on the bill as amended? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Our new papers, Bill 2251.
Bill 2251, resolution further amending resolution number 840 entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2020 Capital Budget, the 2020 CDBG Program, and the 2020 through 2025 Capital Improvement Program, so as to identify specific public service grant projects in City Council District 9 and authorize a subsequent agreement for operation, administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities on behalf of the residents of the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2252.
Bill 2252, resolution further amending resolution number 647 entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2021 Capital Budget and the 2021 CDBG Program and the 2021 through 2026 Capital Improvement Program, so as to identify specific public service grant projects in Council District 9 and authorize a subsequent agreement for operation, administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities on behalf of the residents of the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2253.
Bill 2253, resolution further amending resolution number 647 entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2021 Capital Budget, the 2021 CDBG Program, and the 2021 through 2026 Capital Improvement Program, so as to identify specific public service grant projects in Council District 7 and authorize a subsequent agreement for the operation, administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities on behalf of the residents.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. Bill 2254.
Bill 2254, resolution amending resolution number 832, authorizing the mayor and the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections to enter into an amended agreement with an Off Power Consulting Corporation to provide customer service and soft skills training to the department staff. The amended agreement shall be in an amount not to exceed $58,150.
Motion to approve.
Second. There.
I'll second.
Wait a second. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Discussion? Councilwoman Strasburg?
Discussion, yeah. I'm very interested in hearing a little bit more about this soft skills and customer service training for PLI. Is there anyone here who could tell us a little bit more about, we have the director here, thank you. Just a little bit more about what prompted this, who's gonna get the training? Anything you can tell us about this?
Sure, Councilwoman, thank you for asking. So this is the second year that we'll be offering this customer service and soft skills training. I think I've mentioned to this, to council persons before, we have a really strong focus on our technical training to ensure that we are administering and enforcing the building code and those technical requirements in an appropriate manner. But it's really important because every one of our staff members has hundreds of connections with our customers and our residents throughout the year to build on our customer service to ensure that we're getting folks through the finish line of the permit process or getting owners and residents through the code enforcement process in a smooth manner, and to deal with some of the tough issues that we deal with, conflict resolution, working with folks on timelines, and also focusing on the connection points in our agency between code enforcement and building permits and our administrative intake folks, so that our customers can have a smooth experience as they're going through maybe a cycle of enforcement or a building permit process. So this is for all PLI staff.
Wonderful. I didn't realize that we'd offered this before, so thank you. I guess I missed that or forgot. And this is for all staff. Is it mandatory or is it voluntary?
It is mandatory.
Okay, great. I'm all for it. I read an article about, I think it was the zoning office in Arlington, Texas, whose customer service manager borrowed the customer service skills from Disney and Disney World. how can we make your dreams come true, which sounded silly at the time, but then they attracted all sorts of development and new projects to the city by being known as the city that's great to work with. So I don't want to undercut the importance of great customer service, which I know has been your focus since you've taken your position. So thank you for explaining a little bit more about what this is.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Smith?
I would just say it would be helpful to have this kind of training for all of our employees. I remember when I was first elected, Doug Shields was president and Selena Schmidt was his chief of staff. And she came in and trained my staff on how to be a great service to the public and to the council member. It was just, she took the extra time and I just think it was so helpful. And Kim has been amazing. I mean, and she's great with customer service. I think that was a lot to do with the training back then. So I would love to see us maybe through the clerk's office offer something to all of our staffs if people are willing to do that. But it would be great to see it across the city. You would have that kind of training. Thank you. Thank you, Director, for your work.
Any further, Councilman Cross?
Just briefly, Director, I would just like to take a moment to thank you for being the consummate professional. Your office and you in particular are always so very easy to work with and so very responsive. And I, for one, and I think I speak for most members here, truly appreciate your professionalism and just want to take a moment to recognize that.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. That takes us to our Urban Recreation Committee chaired by Councilman Burgess. One new paper, Bill 2240.
Bill 2240, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Public Works and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into an amended corporation agreement with the Pittsburgh Park Conservancy with the intent of extending and expanding the term and scope of the existing agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second, with discussion.
President Smith?
Yes, I just want to offer an amendment forward for the agreement. It's just to make sure that everything, if there's any changes, it comes before city council. If it also gives the incoming administration an opportunity to negotiate what they'd like to see in an agreement. So I think that it's just more helpful for us. We just want to make sure. I've had concerns about this contract, as many of us have, or some of us have, I should say. And so I just want to make sure that whatever we do going forward, this council, it's the work by the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy is driven by an agenda set forth by the administration and council, not by an organization coming in to do the work and benefiting from that. I think that we need to make sure that they're complementing the work in the city of Pittsburgh, not driving the agenda. And so with that said, I think the agreement will make sure that we state that in some of those things. And so that we'll see the agreement before it comes forward.
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend. Second. Oh, sorry. I thought we had a second.
Second.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilwoman Gross?
Thank you, Councilman Carter.
Thank you, Councilwoman Smith. Yeah, I'm to wonder about rushing out a revised cooperative agreement. I don't think that it's necessarily to rush the cooperation agreement. You'll recall before COVID, I think it was December of 2019, when we sat at the other table because we finally had gotten all 52 agreements from the Parks Conservancy. I think Councilman Cogwell and I co-sponsored a resolution just asking that council have all of the agreements on record, and we didn't. And that meant the public didn't have them either. There were some 30 on the city controller's website, but then if I recall, there were some 19 that were just kind of in various people's drawers, out of sight, in departments, directors. Well, I've got one in my desk drawer. And so they're in a big bound volume at the clerk's office now. I think I might actually have the copy in my office still with lots of Post-its all throughout the whole giant stack. But, and they're on Legistar, so the public can find them. And they're now all on record at the city controller's website. And that's just not something spectacular. That should have already been in place. It is law that all of these agreements be on record and publicly available, and they were not. So just so that we all are operating on the same understanding, so that we're all understanding what is happening, what is not happening, so that we can check in with the public about what they do want to happen. We need to keep, I think, the spotlight on these contracts. And that's what a cooperation agreement is. It says it's operating together, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, what the other party, in this case, the Parks Conservancy, is going to do and is not going to do. But what's in front of us today is expanding that contract beyond the 5 regional asset district parks and into the small and medium parks. Now, what I'm hoping we will see, because we don't have the draft of the agreement, we just have this piece of paper. But Madam President has amended it so that we will get that full agreement. I would prefer to either vote the agreement up or down. We don't have that. We're allowing them to negotiate the agreement, but we can talk about that in the future. Because what I would prefer to see is that we give them the option, right? If this body authorizes a project, let's say in your medium-sized park, Councilman Coghill, if I'm spacing on the name, Kinley? Oh, no, the big park on
Brookline Memorial Park.
Brookline Memorial Park, for
Memorial
example,
Park.
is one of them, or Morrow Park, or one of our small parks in our districts. It would be allowable under this contract. What I do not want to see is that this contract puts the Parks Conservancy in charge of making decisions or budget allocations across all parks citywide, but that does not give the Parks Conservancy the authority somehow to decide priorities across districts, across DPW work citywide, and because that is putting the decision-making out of sight of this table and out of sight of the public. So we need to keep it centered at this table and just have a contract that doesn't prohibit them from doing work when we ask them to. So with that, thank you for the amendment. I am supportive, and I just wanted to call attention for the public to make sure they keep their eyes on it so that we're aligning our citizens' priorities with the work that we do and the budgets that we allocate. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Coghill.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I'm really happy with the new verbiage and the amendments that we made to this, just to make sure we have oversight of everything. And as Councilwoman Gross said, you know, I have big parks, but you know, they're not rad parks. So I like the idea of the Conservancy coming into the South Hills. They have mentioned to me, I had a good conversation with Catherine Qureshi just last week, and she's committed to having a big presence in the South Hills, which they've really never had before. So this opens a door for that. We have a couple of projects, one in particular that sticks out that we're very excited about, and looking forward to working with them. And of course, I like the oversight being at this table for anything that goes forward. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Burgess.
I think the amendment, as I look at it, I think the purpose of it is that it does give council the power to vote down the agreement. That the original bill did not. This amendment, I think line 5, gives us the power to vote down the agreement. And once it's agreed upon, unlike other things, they can't negotiate amendments. If they want to change it, those amendments also have to come back to council. So it gives us pretty much strong oversight over that agreement.
Councilwoman Strasburger.
Thank you. One thing that hasn't really been mentioned that I really like about this this resolution, or this bill, I guess, is that, you know, people like to, maybe they don't like to, they often criticize the Parks Conservancy for being focused on 5 regional parks or focused in the East End. And I think there's been a strong desire by them, as mentioned by Councilman Coghill, to expand beyond those parks. This allows them to do so, while also allowing council and the mayor to set the priorities as to which parks those are. So on a project by project basis, if we can do our own work in some of our parks without their assistance, that's entirely possible. But if it also allows them to work with us to accomplish twice as many, 3 times as many projects outside of the ones that we have the capacity to do, by them leveraging funding from outside donors, philanthropic donors, that's a plus for our people. The public benefits from them being able to expand outside of the parks they've traditionally worked in, and to find dollars and financing for that. So in addition to that benefit, I also appreciate the annual report to City Council, not only detailing the budget priorities, and what they've accomplished, but their MDBE participation, local participation, workforce development, they already work with groups like Land Force. They already work on, they have many partners when it comes to workforce development. I think it'll be helpful for us to understand how they're continuing to grow that and where their priorities lie. So in addition to what's already been said, I wanted to highlight that aspect of this, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had some questions about our authority to take in this this type of amendment, because this means that we'll be voting on the final agreement and then any amendments. So does that mean that we're going to do that all here at this table?
If I may, President, it means the administration will negotiate the agreement, but we will have to approve it. And if they want to then renegotiate anything within the agreement, they will have to bring it back to this table.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand how that shows up on our public agenda. So does that mean, like, are all those agreements public?
Yes.
So that'll show up underneath, like, just like legislation, it'll show up like this.
Yes. Like a
The agreement will be
So
attached.
in the text, it'll all show, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm confused on that part, because I didn't, my understanding was that it was just that we just, allow, that we don't actually vote on that, just that we allow.
Well, we're not negotiating it. We're just voting on them. The administration will negotiate it. We'll vote to approve or disapprove. That's it.
Okay. And that, are we doing that with all of our other? So what's going on here if we're just doing a one-off?
If you want to do it for all, I think we should do it for all. So you want to do it for all? I'm happy to go down that road.
There's something, are you asking an open-ended question? I mean.
Well, I
who are
guess,
you
I guess
asking?
that's what I like to see is if we can even do this.
So can I say something, please? First of all, there's a tax for this one. There's not a tax for a lot of the other ones that we see, other than a general tax. This has a specific tax that people voted on, and then later, a lot of people came to us and said that they had some regret with it. So I think it's important for us to make sure we're giving the public a clear picture of what's happening with the dollars that they're spending, that they're now paying to the city of Pittsburgh for their parks, and to make sure that their voice is heard. So if there's something that they want or don't want or whatever, that their voice is heard. And I think it's also important to make sure the new administration also has some say in what they want for the next vision for their partnership with this organization. This is a long and important initiative that deserves to have a lot of oversight. Sorry, I
guess I don't, I don't disagree with that we shouldn't see the agreement. Was there an issue seeing agreements?
So
we couldn't get them.
are you asking for an interrogatory with all members of?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so
We're all
I'm just trying to maintain some semblance of form. So I saw Councilwoman Gross who wanted to respond.
Get some
to you,
coffee.
and I saw Councilman Burgess who wants to respond to you. But generally speaking, this council authorizes the administration to negotiate agreements. We can also, as a body, decide whether or not we want to then approve those agreements. Sometimes we said we have not, sometimes we said we have. In this case, we're saying because of the importance of it being an actual tax, we want to see it. So that's our prerogative to give away that ability to the administration or to keep it within house. With that said, Councilwoman Gross to respond, and then Councilman Burgess to respond to you. And
That's right.
technically, he still has the floor once you all are done.
So what you have seen since you've been on council is us for 4 full years, just like choosing not to. And I've objected many times, and sometimes I've voted no, and you've probably seen me do that because I think if it is a project or a contract that is of such public interest and import that we should, or of such large dollar figure that we also should. Do we want to vote and see every single contract and drag it back through the city council table? No, some of them are very small. Some of them do not have significant public impact and are just about operations or administrations and keeping the daily business of the city going. And I am completely comfortable, like, not approving a cooperation agreement, as I always say, like for the face painter at the art cart and summer programs, right? Like, absolutely, council, to the city, go ahead and do that. But for something as significant as this, that we've had several years of public conversation about, it is not just okay. I think it's critically important that we have a final vote on the nature of these contracts. And as I just described, there were 19 of the 52 Parks Conservancy cooperation agreements that the public had not seen because they weren't even posted on the city controller website as they are required to have been by law until in December of 2019, while you were here, that we said, hey, give us all the why city council needs all these cooperation agreements. And I after council today, I can show you the binder. It's quite big. And it was, that was, not half, but a full third of them had not been on file with the city controller and certainly not on file with city council. And some of them were just one-off agreements, but so we need that consistency for something this big and this important that has some public contention and discomfort around. So I'm very supportive of this resolution. I do appreciate you calling out to me that Section 5 actually does require that final vote. So thank you.
Try to be brief, because I think this is going to come up. This comes up from time to time. We are a second-class city, which is a strong mayor, but also a strong council, which is, in other smaller jurisdictions, you may have a strong mayor and a weak council. You may have a strong council and weak mayor. We're unusual in that we have a strong mayor, which really means which really only means you don't have a city manager, that the mayor's office is the manager of the corporation, right? But you also have a strong council, which means the council is over really all of the contracting and fiscal responsibilities for the city, that the power of the municipality actually flows through the council, not through the mayor's office. For instance, the police inherently don't have the power of traffic stops. You may think what they do, they actually don't. The council does. We then designate that authority by resolution to the police officers so they can carry it out. The same thing with land use, right? Land use, only 3 municipalities in Pennsylvania have land use professionals. Everything else, every other municipality, it comes to their council. So all the kind of permitting stuff comes to their council. So we decide that we're going to have these planning commissions and zoning commissions, but they are agents of the council. The authority is not theirs. That's why some of their decisions have to come back to us for our approval, because they're our agent, although they are actually the agents of the council. And so because we don't really have that conversation often, but this council, I think Bill Peduto used to talk about it when I was new on council. Council has deep-seated, huge authoritative power if it decides to exercise it. And it is more broad than we think. Most of the time, because we've been Act 47 so long, we've done all these things by tradition, right? By tradition, because Act 47 took away our power. It had to go to the coordinators. We're going to need to touch a line item by 2%. But out of Act 47, council has not unlimited, but it has very broad powers. And the charter,
Very broad responsibility.
and very broad responsibilities, very broad powers and very responsible. Because at the end of the day, we're elected by the people, and this is the account. At the end of the day, we're accountable for all the functions of the city because we fund it. Because we fund it, and we're responsible for all of it. So we have the authority, or the responsibility. That's a better word. We have the responsibility to provide that oversight. That's why the charter gives us the authority to call in directors and call in the mayor and make them sit at the table and have post agendas and all that kind of stuff. I remember we did that, right? We actually compelled the mayor to come right, at the table. Me and Bruce. Yeah, we were here and saw that when there was sort of a clash. So we kind of have lived through knowing that we inherently have this responsibility. And it is not, and here's what I've said, I want to make this really clear today. I'll say this over and over again. A strong mayor, strong council make a stronger city. When Bill's my friend, but with the times that he's asked me to weaken council, I've said no, right? I voted no, I will not. And I will not stop in strengthening council's ability to uphold their responsibility. I will not. I have been that, all of you who served with me know I have been on this mission since I've been a member of council.
So have I. So have I.
With Teresa, I'm not alone, but we've been at, those of us who've been here,
Councilwoman Gross is too.
we've all had that, we've all been on that journey. And continuing on that journey is not anti-mayor. We want a strong mayor. We want the mayor. I want every mayor, especially the new mayor, to be ultra successful. That is my goal. I want him to be successful, no doubt about it. But I believe he will be more successful the more we take our responsibility and have the tools in order to carry out our responsibility so we can co-govern with him to make the city better. That's what I think, that's my view, is that we co-govern. That's the way the charter is set up. And I hope that's, it is not, my wife and I, we've been married 37 years and there's some tension, right? But I don't want her to be less than, and she doesn't want me to be less than. We want us both to be the best we can be. So I want to just be very clear in terms of my intentions, and I think council's intentions. And so I'm really, yeah, we can do this, Bobby. I'm supportive.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson, you still have the floor.
Aye.
So even though the Parks and Conservancy sponsored the campaign, this isn't the parks tax, but this is the agreement. So I don't, I'm unaware of another agreement that we're going to be seeing, like this. And so I had the pleasure of working with the administration on the parking agreement, the parking authority agreement. Yeah, it's a good word. And so, I'm just curious. I know we have Kinsey Casey here, Chief Casey. I was wondering if you could comment on, that process. Is that the similar process that because I think we.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. That is a similar process. I am not a lawyer, but I certainly can ask law to give you an opinion on this question prior to voting, if that is useful. Because I am not sure, I think law has previously stated that council has the ability to authorize the mayor to enter into the agreement, but not approve the agreement. But I can ask law.
I'm just trying to understand. Yeah. Well, thanks for your comment. But the parking agreement that we worked on, I remember seeing that in front of us, but that was just because it was sent over, right?
Yes, and I am happy to share the agreement that we have, that we're working on currently with the Parks Conservancy with all of you.
Right. So that wasn't an issue. That's why I'm just curious on why we would have to put this into, I guess we're worried about if other mayors don't share. All right. Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Councilman Clark.
Okay, I just want to add one comment. From a district that came from 78% of my district voted against the parks tax. And we've been through the ringer. We fought and we've had people down here and we've talked about how this should be distributed. I'm very pleased with the first year. I'm very pleased that we're going to have oversight over what comes down the pike, whatever projects come down the pike, whether it's be PPC or another entity. So for my money, I'm very happy where we're at. I was very uncomfortable with the parks tax. I was very uncomfortable with the PPC's plan to spend the parks tax. Right now, I feel like I'm at a good place. I can explain it to my district. They will see improvements going into my parks. So we could talk about, the smaller questions all we want. I'm happy. I'm in a good place with it. I hope everybody else is as well.
Any further discussion? We're still on the amendment. Council, second round?
Yeah, I just want to say real briefly that we actually do this in different ways. When we have a tax now for this. And so as Councilwoman Gross said, it's incumbent upon us to watch those dollars. And so if we've done it before or not done it before is irrelevant to me, as long as we know that there's some part of our city that has some concerns. But we have actually done it before. We have the Housing Opportunity Fund, and we actually created an entire committee to work on those funds and how they're spent. We didn't give them just to the URA. We didn't just give them to the Housing Authority. We put a committee in charge of those dollars. So we could do something like that with the park tax too, and put a committee and how they're going to decide how they can decide how those dollars are spent because it's a park tax. If we wanted to do something like that, what we're trying to do is allow the administration to come up with something, to negotiate something, to work with them and to bring it before us so that we feel comfortable. If we don't feel comfortable allowing an administration to do it, we can set up a committee and make sure every dollar comes before us and that we do the same as we do with the Housing Opportunity Fund. What we're trying to do is let the process take its place with some oversight. So with that said, I hope that people will vote in favor of it today.
Thank you. So all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is amended. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is recommended.
Chair.
Can I thank Director Urbanek for working on the amendment?
Councilman Burgess.
Sure. I need to call for, I did not want to hold the bills up. I do need to call for a post agenda concerning bills 2252 and 2253, the way my ULO money is being spent. Up until this year, as everyone knows, I've always given that money to the Poise Foundation for them to distribute. This past season, OMB itself created a committee of young people, and they decided how this money was spent. And so high school students, they created a committee of high school students, and they want to appear for council and show their work. And I think it'll be, exciting to see, because we actually are giving, we talk about giving young people an opportunity. We actually gave them the power to make financial decisions that would impact their own community. And so I thought that was a fabulous idea that they did, and they want to showcase it. And so I like a televised post agenda to showcase their deliberations.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll work with the clerk to get a schedule. That takes us to Innovation Performance Asset Management Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Strasburger. First deferred papers, Bill 0521.
Bill 521, resolution repealing, amending, and reenacting resolution number 18 entitled Resolution Authorizing and Directing that the Bureau of Cable Communications, Department of Public Works, broadcast all of council's regular legislative sessions, standing committee meetings, setting forth the responsibility of the Department of Innovation and Performance with respect to meetings of city council, and to reflect various changes in the city's departmental organization structure and other changes to reflect technological innovation since 1983.
Motion to approve, discussion.
Second.
I had a good discussion with Reverend Burgess about his bill yesterday. I know that we had discussed potentially holding it. I just wasn't sure how long he wished to hold it.
We could only hold it a week in order to get it through. I think we can only, if we can't, we can always reintroduce it. The purpose of this is simply to update it. The original language talks about 1983, and it does not require the cable. It gives the Cable Bureau only the instructions to televise our post agenda in public meetings. It doesn't authorize it to do anything else for us. And so all we want to do is update it so that it is current to what we're doing in 2020. There's the wrong name on it. It is the Cable Bureau instead of IMP and all that stuff.
We'll work to set up a meeting with IMP and Rev. Burgess and clarify what the intention is in the language.
Mr. Chair, so since it is such a a point of importance to communicate what this body does. Why don't we just reintroduce? Were we going to finish this? We're not going to finish this in 2 weeks.
I'm open to that. You know, we can just, you know, hold it for 4 weeks. That'll do it. And then we'll reintroduce it because if you look at it, it's just,
it needs to be updated.
Needs to be updated, but I'm open to what it looks like. I don't really have, I told that to Councilman Strasburg. The only thing, my only interest, only one interest, is that the council can direct the cable bureau to do whatever the council decides it should do. So let's say.
As it relates to council.
It relates to council. So if the council wants to have a meeting in the community, if you want something on the south side, right? Right now, the way the legislation, they do it because they're being nice, but they're not really compelled to do it. So it is to make sure that we can have them do something if we want. That's all.
So I appreciate your willingness to take the time to.
Yeah, sure. We'll do it together.
Is that a motion to hold 4 weeks?
You want me to do it or you? Motion to hold 4 weeks.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill will be held 4 weeks. Bill 2161.
Bill 2161, resolution authorizing the city to enter into a cable franchise agreement with certain subsidiary agreements for other services arising from the cable franchise agreement with Comcast Cable Communications Management.
Motion to approve, a brief discussion. Thank you. I really just wanted to thank a couple of people. One is IMP Director Heidi Norman for helping to usher this through and to help to explain all of this to us at the public hearing. That I also want to thank Councilman Wilson for chairing on my behalf, and to Dan Cohen, a former council colleague who is now the one who helps to negotiate all our cable franchise agreements. And this is the one with Comcast. You know, despite some really difficult and challenging hurdles that the FCC has put in our way in the last couple of years that make it more difficult for cities and states in particular to do what they want when it comes to exercising control over their own land and fees and other things with telecom companies. He was able to help really negotiate a strong agreement with Comcast, and I think it's really going to benefit us in a number of ways, particularly in the way that we can continue to, own our assets and charge fees and to be able to power our, rec and senior centers. So a lot of good things in here. I know this came up at the INP budget hearing yesterday, and I'm pleased with the way it turned out, and happy to support.
Full-time job.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is recommended. That takes us to our last committee of the day, Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilman Strasburger. One new paper, Bill 2246.
Gross.
I'm sorry. Councilwoman Gross. I apologize.
Bill number 2246, resolution providing for the execution of a corporation agreement with the URA in an amount not to exceed $175,000 to support the creation of publicly accessible park space as part of the 5th and Dinwiddie redevelopment.
Motion to approve.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill is recommended. That exhausts our agenda. We do have a few meeting announcements. Our budget meetings will continue this afternoon at 1:30 with the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service, chaired by Councilman Kraus. And on Thursday, December 9th at 10 a.m. with the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, chaired by Councilman Coghill. Council will also hold our 2022 tax budget and citizen participation cablecast public hearing on Monday, December 13th at 10 a.m. On Thursday, December 9th at 1:30 p.m., Council will hold a cablecast post-agenda discussion on the proposed annexation of the Borough of Wilkinsburg, chaired by Council President Smith. Next week, Council will hold our regular and standing committee meetings on Tuesday, December 14th and Wednesday, December 15th, respectively, both at 10 a.m. To register to speak at next week's council meetings, please call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138 by 9 a.m. Tuesday and Wednesday. Anything else from members?
We have a meeting on Monday.
Line item vote.
He just said that.
Did you say that?
I
Preliminary. right?
preliminary. I did not announce it, but yes, we do.
No, but you mentioned the kids.
No, I think
No,
the.
it's just
Monday.
I mentioned the citizen participation hearing.
I think they always.
But
do.
we meet at 1:30, I think, for the line item.
I thought.
With that, this may be the first time all 9 of us have actually been back in chambers in maybe 2 years.
Wow.
So
We
congratulations.
should recognize that.
Yeah,
We're better together.
This is history.
it's a milestone.
I should get a picture. Where's Anthony?
Motion to approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank